Yuumi. Okay, so today we're going to be looking over Yuumi's skills, and I'm just going to kind of give my thoughts on it. This is for like the YouTube and stuff like that. So yeah, since Yuumi's like skills have been released, I have this I'm just going to use this as my reference point for what's going on for Yuumi. We'll be talking about each of the skills, what I think the champion will be good at, be bad at, if I think she'll be powerful, etc., etc. We haven't obviously seen any numbers attached to any of these, so that obviously will impact the power level of this champion by a lot. But I think for the most part, it'll be pretty easy for us to get like an accurate reading of her based on her kit. So, for starters, passive, bop and block. Every so often, Yuumi's auto next attack against the opponent restores mana and grants her a shield. If Yuumi is attacked, the shield protects her ally. The shield protects Yuumi or her ally until it's broken. Okay, so this is like next attack on opponent's restore mana and grant her a shield. That's a really confusing wording in my opinion. If Yuumi is attacked, the shield protects her ally. That seems like really, really weird in terms of wording purposes. I'm going to assume that the interaction that she has with her jumping into allies will allow this to basically be a shield anytime that she's auto-attacking. I think actually going over the W is probably the most important thing, and then we'll go over everything else, because that's kind of like how everything ties in. So the W is you and me while attached. Oh, I'm stupid. This is attached, not attacked. I can't read English. Okay, so when she's attached, the shield protects her allies. Okay, cool. That also leads me to believe that there's a likelihood that you can auto-attack while you're attached to someone. So, while attached, Yuumi and her ally gain a % of each other's AD or AP converted to adaptive force. Okay, so actually this champion will be really good with hybrid damage users, since she will be ability power. Right? Like, for the most part, all of your items will be ability power in most cases. So, like, Ezreal and Kai'Sa are probably going to be some of the best champions. Unless what this means is that this means that it takes whatever the highest is and converts it over. So, like, if you're ability power, but your AD carry is AD damage, then maybe this converts over into that. Anyway, this is going to be really good. This right here, depending on how the intricacies of this works, could potentially create a scenario where playing Yuumi as a solo laner might be a viable option, just like Lulu was when she first came out. Because if these numbers are really, really high, then potentially having Yuumi have income and lots of items and like base AP might make her incredibly powerful for like grouping and like fighting and protecting the ADC. So the active is starts with a point in her W. Oh, she actually starts with a point in her W. Okay, she dashes to an ally champion and attaches. This is the attaching mechanic that I was talking about previously. While attached, she follows her partner's movement is untargetable. So one of the biggest complaints and problems with most range supports in the current age is that they're just too damn squishy and get killed quite easily. This actually means that like traversing terrain and getting vision down is really, really difficult. But with something like this as a functionality, this might be really good depending on whether or not you're allowed to drop wards while attached to your teammate. If you can, this is probably going to be really, really powerful. If you can't, it's still probably going to be pretty decent based on the cooldown, because you'll go into like a tank and then, you know, maybe your jungler is tanky or something like that. You go into them, you lead the fight, and then afterwards you can jump off of them. Also, side note, because of systems like that, there's actually probably a decent chance that Yuumi doesn't even sit in her AD carry a lot of the times, based on like a lot of her kit that I've seen. So then you can go into your teammate and you, okay. So here's the answer to that other question. By everything except tower damage. Yuumi's abilities fire from her ally's location, and she cannot attack enemies. So that means that in systems like this, your next attack restores mana and grants her a shield. Basically, what a good player would end up doing with a dynamic like this is getting the shield proc and then immediately attaching afterwards, since you can't auto attack to proc the passive to shield people. So that is like one thing to note in the interactions, which is very, very cool. Some like skill expression already like established in this champion. She can unattach after a cooldown or attach to another enemy, another teammate with no cooldown. Okay, so you can actually just hop over to each player based on the circumstances. So maybe you start in the tank at the start, try to get like your ultimate off or something like that, then you can jump into the AD carry later. That seems pretty cool. I like that. So we'll jump back up to Q because the W is pretty important to establish for her entire kit. The Q, Yuumi fires a missile that deals magic damage to the first enemy hit. If the missile is in flight long enough, I think 1 second was what I was hearing, it deals bonus magic damage and slows enemies. Okay, so it rewards you from shooting from farther away. While attached, Yuumi fires a missile from her ally's position and can direct the missile's flight path. Okay, so this is like the majority of your focus power, or like you doing something active in the like while you're attached, which is really, really cool to just be firing missiles basically. The cooldown of this is going to be the most interesting thing, based on how much damage it deals and stuff like that. So next is E, Zoomies. Yuumi heals and gains a burst of movement speed. If attached, her ally is targeted by the spell instead. The spell has 2 charges. Alright, so this is probably what you max first. Unless the Q does a lot of damage, then maybe you could have situations where you kind of do the Thresh effect where, you know, a lot of times when I play Thresh, I put 3 points in Flay before maxing Hook. There's a good chance that maybe you put 2 to 3 points in the Q early on for lane pressure, and then you end up maxing this. I mean, just generic enchanter stuff, right? This is how you're going to get, like, most of your value. You're going to be healing and giving movement speed. Since it's probably 2 charges, the numbers are going to be relatively lower. I probably look at like Nami's numbers in terms of healing to kind of have like a relative perspective on the power level of this. And then final chapter, Yuumi opens a book launching a wave of magic that roots enemies after multiple hits. While using her ult, Yuumi can move and attach to allied champions and heal. Okay, so that's really cool. Like, just waves that root. This is also why I think that attaching to a tank at the start of fights is probably going to be a better thing, or a bruiser, just so that you have, like, a better angle to root people beforehand. And then you can attach to people and heal. So, this doesn't really lock you out of anything. So, my overall impressions of this kit is it works really well together with the attach mechanic. I think that's a very new and unique thing. I think that's very exciting. She still retains a lot of her Enchantress elements with her E, but actually the big question mark I have for this champion is the power level of her Q. If this Q is really, really powerful, then you could see this champion becoming a mid laner or a lane bully. I wouldn't be surprised, just because I'm looking at this right here with the AP or AD converted and saying to myself, okay, well, what if this champion has an insane amount of farm because the Q does like good amounts of damage? That being said, there's no mention of splash damage on this, so I think splash damage will be the determining factor of whether or not you see it in a solo laner. Overall, I think the kit is really good. I'm relatively excited for her. She doesn't seem very like over the top, so I think her numbers are going to be the most important thing, like how much damage does your Q do and how frequently you can use heal. I think for the most part, you're going to have pretty much a basic setup though, where you're just going to end up going like Ardent and Athenes, and that's about what you're going to be looking at in terms of itemization. You're not going to go too crazy on all of the setups. But yeah, I mean, her kit looks really good. I think that my main concern is skill disparity. I think that being able to attach yourself to a teammate and no longer have to worry about your body for the majority of the game raises some red flags for me, because it might just be like a Janet 2.0 where you just are getting elo boosted through the game. So I have some concerns about that. Maybe, not too big of a fan of that. But other than that, seems like the kit's well put together. Have some questions about whether or not you auto attack, then proc a shield, then jump into someone. Some dynamics with that. And mostly just curious about her numbers. Overall, those are like my early impressions of her. I think that if the Q does any decent amount of damage, you'll be putting 2 or 3 points into her. You'll go Spell Thieves. And you'll most likely just stack CDR on her. Athenes and Ardent and Lucidity Boots are probably what you're going to end up doing. And then after that, maybe just like looking at full AP after that. Anyway, no, you're not attached forever. You can disattach. So when you attach to someone, you create a individual cooldown of attachment to that champion. But you can go to another champion instantaneously, apparently. And then I'm sure as you invest points into this, the attachment cooldown goes down. That's basically how it is. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing this champion. We'll be testing her on PB whenever she comes out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.